The year is 1941. The world is engulfed in the flames of World War II. Across the battlefields of Europe and North Africa, a new armored warrior is about to make its debut, the M4 Sherman Tank. Named after the famed American Civil War general, William Tecumseh Sherman, this mechanical workhorse would become a symbol of American industrial might and Allied resilience. The Sherman, with its distinctive silhouette and 75mm cannon, was about to etch its name into the annals of military history. From the beaches of Normandy to the hedgerows of France, from the deserts of North Africa to the islands of the Pacific, the Sherman would roll into battle, carrying with it the hopes of nations and the courage of countless soldiers. This is the story of the M4 Sherman Tank, a tank that would become a legend. The demand for tanks in the midst of global conflict was insatiable, and the United States, with its industrial prowess, answered the call. The M4 Sherman was designed with mass production in mind. Standardization was key, with parts readily interchangeable, allowing factories to churn out these armored beasts at an astonishing rate. At the peak of production, nearly 4,000 Shermans were rolling off assembly lines every month, a testament to American manufacturing capabilities. But the Sherman was more than just a product of mass production. It was a versatile platform that could be adapted to a variety of combat roles. Different models, each with its own unique characteristics, were developed to meet the specific demands of the battlefield. The Sherman, in its many forms, was ready to face the challenges of a world at war. The story of the M4 Sherman begins, not on the battlefield, but in the bustling factories of America. The design philosophy behind the Sherman was a radical departure from the prevailing tank doctrines of the time. While other nations focused on building heavily armed behemoths, the Americans took a different approach. The Sherman was designed to be, above all else, practical. It was not intended to engage in tank duels with the enemy's best. Instead, it was conceived as a reliable, mobile, and readily available weapon system that could support infantry advances and overwhelm the enemy with sheer numbers. This pragmatic approach was a gamble, a bet on American industrial might and the ability to outproduce and outmaneuver their enemies. At the heart of the Sherman was its engine, a departure from the diesel engines favored by many other nations. The Sherman was powered by a gasoline-fueled radial engine, a technology more commonly associated with aircraft. This unconventional choice had its advantages. The radial engine, while more prone to catching fire when hit, offered a significant advantage in terms of power-to-weight ratio. This translated into a tank that was surprisingly nimble and fast for its size, capable of reaching speeds of up to 30 miles per hour. This speed, combined with its relatively low profile, made the Sherman difficult to target and allowed it to keep pace with the advancing infantry it was designed to support. The Sherman's engine, a symphony of pistons and fire, became its defining characteristic. The Sherman, however, was far from a one-size-fits-all solution. The ever-changing nature of warfare demanded adaptability, and the Sherman rose to the challenge. The Sherman proved to be a remarkably adaptable platform. Different variants, each tailored to specific combat environments and tactical roles, began to emerge from American factories. The M4A1, with its distinctive cast hull, offered improved protection, but at the cost of increased production complexity. The M4A2, favored by the Soviets for its reliability, became a mainstay on the Eastern Front. The M4A3, equipped with a powerful Ford engine, provided a much-needed boost in speed and mobility. If you're enjoying the well-rounded history of an American war icon, please smash that subscribe button. The M4. Sherman didn't have long to wait for its baptism by fire. In the deserts of North Africa, under the scorching sun, the Sherman faced its first real test against Rommel's Afrika Korps. The Sherman's speed and mobility proved to be a significant advantage in the vast, open terrain, allowing it to outmaneuver and outflank its German counterparts. Its 75mm cannon, while not as powerful as the German 88mm guns, proved to be a reliable weapon, capable of knocking out enemy tanks at standard combat ranges. The Sherman's arrival in North Africa marked a turning point in the war, giving the Allies a much-needed edge in the armored warfare. As the war progressed and the Sherman rolled onto the battlefields of Europe, it faced a new and formidable challenge, the German Panther and Tiger tanks. These heavily armored and armed behemoths, the pride of German engineering, were a different breed altogether. The Tiger, with its fearsome 88mm cannon, could engage and destroy Shermans at ranges where the Sherman's own guns were ineffective. The Panther, while not as heavily armored as the Tiger, boasted a high-velocity 75mm gun that could penetrate the Sherman's frontal armor with ease. The Sherman, designed for reliability and mass production, now found itself outmatched in terms of firepower and protection. Despite facing superior German armor, the Sherman crews fought on with tenacity and courage. They understood that their tank, while not invincible, was a tool, a weapon to be wielded with skill and determination. The Sherman's speed and maneuverability often allowed skilled crews to outflank and engage German tanks from the sides or rear, where their armor was weaker. The Sherman's relatively high profile, a disadvantage in a one-on-one engagement, became an asset in urban warfare, where it could use rubble and buildings for cover. The Sherman may have been outgunned, but it was never outfought. The courage and ingenuity of its crews, combined with the Sherman's inherent strengths, ensured that it remained a potent force on the battlefield. The Sherman's encounter with the German Panther and Tiger tanks exposed a critical vulnerability: its relatively thin armor. Faced with this stark reality, Sherman crews, often operating far from the safety of repair depots and supply lines, resorted to desperate measures to improve their chances of survival. The Sherman, designed for mass production and ease of repair, became a canvas for battlefield ingenuity. Tank crews, drawing upon their resourcefulness and sheer will to survive, began to improvise, adding whatever they could find to bolster their tanks' defenses. Word spread quickly among Sherman crews about effective ways to enhance their tanks' protection. What began as isolated acts of desperation soon evolved into a widespread practice, a testament to the collective ingenuity of those on the front lines. Spare track links, salvaged from disabled tanks, were bolted onto the hull and turret, providing an extra layer of protection against enemy shells. Sandbags, readily available and surprisingly effective at absorbing shrapnel and small arms fire, were piled high on the engine deck and around vulnerable areas. Logs, often soaked in water to provide additional protection against fire, were strapped to the sides of the Sherman, adding another obstacle for enemy rounds to penetrate. Before we get to the acting career of the M4 Sherman, please smash that subscribe button. The 2014 film Fury, starring Brad Pitt, offers a raw and visceral glimpse into the brutal reality of tank warfare during World War II, particularly from the perspective of a Sherman tank crew operating behind enemy lines. While the film takes certain creative liberties for dramatic effect, it captures the essence of the challenges faced by Sherman crews, especially when confronted with the technological superiority of German tanks like the Tiger. In one harrowing scene, the Sherman Fury and its crew find themselves in a desperate struggle for survival against a lone Tiger tank, a stark reminder of the disparity in firepower that often characterized these engagements. The film doesn't shy away from portraying the psychological toll that such intense combat took on the crews, the constant fear of fiery death, and the camaraderie forged in the crucible of battle. While Fury offers a compelling narrative, it's important to remember that it is a work of fiction and therefore takes certain liberties with historical accuracy. The film's climactic battle, where Fury single-handedly takes on a large German contingent, including multiple tanks and infantry, is a dramatic exaggeration of typical Sherman engagements. In reality, while Shermans were sometimes forced into desperate situations, they rarely operated in such isolation and typically relied on combined arms tactics, working in conjunction with infantry, artillery, and air support to overcome enemy defenses. Moreover, the film's portrayal of German tank crews as uniformly fanatical and ruthless, while true in some cases, doesn't reflect the full spectrum of experiences and motivations within the German military. Nevertheless, Fury serves as a valuable starting point for understanding the challenges faced by Sherman crews and the brutality of tank warfare during World War II. Beyond the technical specifications and tactical maneuvers, it's crucial to remember that the story of the M4 Sherman is ultimately a human story. Inside each of these steel behemoths were young men, often barely out of their teens, thrust into the most extreme and terrifying circumstances imaginable. They fought not for glory or conquest, but for survival, for their comrades, and for a future free from tyranny. The cramped, claustrophobic interior of the Sherman became their battleground, their home, and sometimes their tomb. The psychological stress of operating within these confined, deafeningly loud, and inherently dangerous machines was immense. The constant threat of enemy fire, the knowledge that a single, well-placed shot could turn their tank into an inferno, weighed heavily on their minds. These young men, often far from home and facing an uncertain future, displayed extraordinary courage and resilience in the face of overwhelming odds. The Sherman spearheaded advances across the deserts of Tunisia, outmaneuvering Rommel's Afrika Korps and contributing to the eventual Allied victory in North Africa. In the European theatre, the Sherman played a pivotal role in the liberation of France, its numbers helping to tip the balance in favor of the Allies following the D-Day landings. The fate of the free world hung in the balance on June 6, 1944, as Allied forces stormed the beaches of Normandy, France, in the largest amphibious invasion in history. Among the waves of soldiers and equipment that landed on those blood-soaked shores were hundreds of M4 Sherman tanks, tasked with providing crucial armored support to the infantry assault. The Sherman, adapted for amphibious landings with specialized waterproofing and flotation devices, faced a daunting challenge. German defenses, dug deep into the cliffs overlooking the beaches, rained down a torrent of fire upon the advancing Allies. Despite heavy losses, the Sherman pushed forward, its 75mm cannon blasting enemy emplacements and providing cover for the infantry as they fought to secure a foothold on the continent. The Sherman's performance on D-Day, while not without its challenges, proved instrumental in the success of the operation, marking a turning point in the war in Europe. The echoes of World War II faded, giving way to a new era marked by the chilling grip of the Cold War. Yet, the M4 Sherman, a veteran of countless battles, was far from done with its contribution to history. Like a seasoned warrior, it found new purpose, its presence felt on battlefields across the globe. From the divided Korean peninsula to the volatile Middle East, the Sherman continued to serve, its familiar silhouette a testament to its adaptability and enduring design. Nations, both large and small, recognizing the Sherman's reliability and ease of maintenance, embraced it as a valuable asset in their arsenals. The Sherman's influence extended beyond its physical presence on the battlefield. Its design philosophy, emphasizing mass production and practicality, left an indelible mark on tank development in the post-war era. The lessons learned in the crucible of World War II, the importance of logistical simplicity and battlefield versatility, resonated with military planners and engineers as they sought to create the next generation of armored fighting vehicles. The Sherman, in many ways, became the archetype for the modern main battle tank, its DNA woven into the fabric of armored warfare for decades to come. Time, in its relentless march, has dimmed the roar of the Sherman's engine, but its legacy continues to resonate, not just in military history books, but in the hearts and minds of those who witnessed its might firsthand. Museums around the world proudly display meticulously restored Shermans, their hulls bearing the scars of battle, each dent, each scratch, a silent testament to the ferocity of the conflict they endured. The Sherman, once a symbol of American industrial might, now transcends national boundaries, embodying the shared sacrifices and collective determination of the Allied nations during World War II. As we reflect upon the legacy of the M4 Sherman tank, we are reminded that its story is not merely one of steel, engines, and firepower. It's a story of human ingenuity, courage, and sacrifice, a testament to the enduring spirit of those who fought and died within its confines. The Sherman, for all its mechanical complexities, was ultimately a tool, an instrument of war wielded by individuals who understood the true cost of conflict. They faced the horrors of war head-on. They fought not for personal glory, but for a cause greater than themselves, for the liberation of oppressed peoples and the preservation of freedom. The M4 Sherman, in its own way, embodies spirit, a symbol of resilience, adaptability, and the unwavering determination to overcome adversity, no matter the odds. If you enjoyed the information and want to learn more about history's most iconic weapons, figures, and stories, then smash that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the bell icon to be informed of all the latest history.